like to talk to people of color and kind of just see like how you navigate your space. Because we all, you know, if we have careers, it seems like sometimes it's different. You know, there's different levels of opportunity that we may get or different barriers we may come up against. So I was really wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit and just, obviously you can, I know you've been like busy, you've been out there, you've been doing interviews and all type of things. So I know you have, you're getting that exposure, but you know, just so people, like more people can know about you, I thought it would be good to talk to you. So I thought maybe before I get into my questions, can we do like some icebreaker questions? Okay. I'm kind of lame, so that's just something I do. Okay. So what is your favorite coffee cocktail?
Favorite coffee cocktail? It's one of ours actually. It's called Pitoro. It's Puerto Rican spirit. And it's essentially something we use our Colombian coffee for. Did you hear me? I don't know if it cut out, but yeah.
It cut out a little bit, but I heard. Yeah. Just repeat the name. Repeat the name of it. Sorry.
Yeah, my favorite one is called the Hector Carvajal. So it's Pitorro. Yeah. Hector Carvajal. And it's a collaboration we did with Port Morris Distillery here in the South Bronx. And it's a really good spirit. And then we have a special drink we call it Don, and it has like cinnamon, has some bitters in it. It has that drink, and it has oat milk. So it gives you like a Bailey's feel, yet it's dairy free. And it has like a little spike in it. So it's pretty good, yeah.
That sounds really good. And you're based in New York? Yeah. Is that right? Okay. So if people are in New York, where did you say they could get that cocktail? Is that like a specific restaurant or bar?
Yeah, it's at a distillery. It's called Port Morris Distillery. And they also distribute it to like certain liquor stores in the New York City area.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I have a few more. Your favorite thing to eat with coffee?
My favorite thing to eat? Oof. Honestly, I've grown this fond love for like a really good croissant. Hot coffee. Like a really good hot coffee. That's it for me. Like, you know, early morning hot coffee to get your day going, and just like a really good croissant, nice and flaky. That's it for me.
Ooh, okay. That's a good choice. That's a good choice. And then one gotta go. Coffee, cold brew, or espresso?
You could take out espresso. That's an easy one.
I thought it was gonna be a hard question. You're like, nah. Okay.
I mean, I do this every day, you know. So if you gave me the options, I would pick either coffee or the cold brew. I think, you know, I like to like take my time with things. And I think espresso, like, you definitely take your time with it, but it's so like aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, it's very aggressive.
Yeah.
But I like it because it's like, you know, it's smooth. You can take your time. Same with cold brew. You know, but some people prefer espresso, but I just like to sip and chill, and not have like a powerful jump at me more or less at once. But I do enjoy espresso. You know, I enjoy the other two better.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to do a few of those questions, but so before we kind of get into the interview, do you want to explain, like, introduce yourself to maybe people that haven't heard of you briefly, and kind of your business and, you know.
Castillo-Carvajal. I'm the founder and CEO of Don Carvajal Café. It's a specialty company based out of New York. We import coffee from Colombia, and we have other import partners that bring coffee from Haiti, Costa Rica, Brazil, and I'm missing one: Costa Rica, Brazil, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Colombia. Yeah. So we distribute it. We bring the coffee here, or we have partners that bring it here, and then we roast the coffee. We do the entire process. So we elaborate it, we roast it, we pack it, and then we distribute it. So do e-commerce, sell our coffee online, at doncarvajalcafe.com, and people order it all throughout the United States and receive it at home via the mail. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I hope I'm not cutting out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that. So, I mean, going along with, you mentioned the DR, and in the research that I did, I saw that you grew up in the Dominican Republic, like between the DR and New York.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how your culture and like your ethnicity kind of informs your business model and what you wanted to bring to the coffee industry?
Yeah, I would say that, growing up between Dominican Republic and New York City was an interesting experience because I got the city life and I got the country life, got the organic and I got the inorganic life. You know what I mean? So being back home, I got to see what real agriculture is like. I got to see what agriculture was like when I was a kid. And then I got to see what agriculture is now, and it's two totally different things. And it's like saying I was talking one time to a friend of mine, and they said, "So you're saying that agriculture is corrupted?" And I'm like, "Corrupted? I don't know if that's the word." And then I was like, "Well, maybe that is the word because it's not the same thing that it used to be. It's the original form." So my mission really is to bridge the gap between people who are looking to get organic things, organic foods, more so coffee, and just make it sustainable, healthy, equitable, and also help the farmers back home get price for their hard work. Coffee is like a once a year or twice a year crop, so whatever you sell in that harvest time is really what you're gonna live off from that crop. So it's one of those things where we want to build more equity in the industry, and that's where that came from. So being back home, I wanted to, kind of get into the agricultural life. And then being from here, I noticed that there was a demand for that kind of product. And then I kind of just put the two things together and somehow came up with the coffee. And here we are.
Wow. That's amazing. And like going off of that, when you said that someone kind of mentioned it was corrupted,
yeah.
I saw that on your website, you say it's ethically sourced, your coffee. And so how does that differ from like how, maybe mainstream brands source their coffee? Like, can you talk a little bit about what it means to be ethically sourced? You touched on it with like equitable and sustainable, but
I would say ethically sourced means 101 things. I'll try to say as many as possible.
Big question.
But one, it's organic and natural. So typically when you have crops and you put chemicals on it like pesticides, herbicides, inorganic fertilizers, there's typically runoff. So if it rains and stuff like that, some of those chemicals leak into the local wildlife, the local water streams, and then it affects and kills the wildlife of that area. It affects plants and the biodiversity, and then it makes it inorganic, right? So if you spray something on this plant and then you go take it to the kitchen and then rinse it out, that whatever you sprayed is going to go on the sink and then through the pipe. You know what I mean? So that's the whole concept behind that. On top of that, it's like no deforestation. So there's no deforesting going on. Although all the coffee is grown in an area where it's like a coexistent or like a ecosystem where it's all healthy, so it's like plants that benefit one another. The coffee is shade grown, so that prevents the sun from, irritating the soil and burning the plants and stuff like that. So there's soil protection on top of that. Additionally, I would say the price that's paid to farmers is not like what other companies pay. So some of the bigger companies, they buy a really, really, really high amount of coffee. So their argument is, listen, I'm buying all this coffee. Let me pay you 50 cents per pound. Whereas somebody like me will come in and pay you $3, $4, $5 per pound. Why do we pay that price? Is because we tell people and we educate them, or at least people that I know educate them on how to make a higher quality coffee. So it's one of those things where like, don't rush it. Take your time, make it higher quality, make it better, and then we'll pay you the difference of that quality. And that's where specialty coffee comes in, So it's one of those things where people are like, well, why am I paying $15 for this bag of coffee? And it's like, well, somebody took their time, they picked out the right cherries, everything was organic and natural, everything was done a certain way. Where if you wanted something conventional, it would just be super super generic. Let's just pick all the cherries. Let's not pick them out.
Yeah.
It just might be inorganic. We're gonna spray this on that, and call it a day. But for the hard work, the effort, the extra time, the extra detail, compensated for that time. You know what I mean, and for that effort. And that's where the equity part comes in, I would say.
Yeah, I love that, because it seems like because you have roots, in the DR, and it's almost like you're more connected to those places. And so, like you said, you're going to be more thoughtful about equity and like paying the farmers what they deserve, as opposed to like, I'm going to take from your environment and then bring it back here and make money off of it. It seems like you have kind of a deeper mission with it.
And honestly, fun fact, it's actually very tough to do what I'm trying to do. Like some farms, some farms require you to buy a container, which is like 42,000 pounds. Like nowhere am I near buying 42,000 pounds of one coffee, So it's very tough to be equitable and to try to start a business without that initial capital. So what I do is I partner with farms that have the resource or are looking to get into this network and work with smaller volumes. So I'm a small guy in the coffee world. And even for me to begin in the coffee world was very tough because there was a lot of gatekeepers, But it's one of those things where I look for people, I want to help people, and then I look for people who want to help people too. So it's like one hand versus the other, So I've had people, I can't help you. I've had people give me ridiculous quotes, which obviously I couldn't meet. But I also partner with smaller farms that have the capability of helping me bring coffee here, for us to move the product and showcase it here in New York City. And I've also had situations where I couldn't coffee here, because of the crazy minimums that require, from some of these farms. Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, just listening to you talk, I'm like, I saw a little bit about like your educational background, but can you talk about where you went to school, like what you studied, how you kind of got motivated to pursue like entrepreneurship? Because I know a lot of people in like communities of color, sometimes it's like, it seems out of reach, like education, and then like, how do I start a business? So can you talk a little bit about your education journey? That's kind of probably a big question, but.
It's funny. Well, maybe not funny. Maybe it's interesting. I don't know. When I was in high school, I actually dropped out of high school for a year. I took classes, just hang out with my friends, and I wasn't into school at all. Then my mom sent me back home to the Dominican Republic for 6 months. She sent me to the country. I was living, I was living in poverty in New York City, but poverty in New York City versus poverty in a third world country.
Yeah, it's different.
You know what I mean? So I was seeing like this, like, wow, like this is really where I'm from. Like people who are really disenfranchised, people who really don't have an educational budget, people who really don't have money for a notebook. You know what I mean? Where you get these things. So seeing this mass amount of poverty was like my eye opener, and when I saw kids working and not going to school, I was like, well, why aren't you kids going to school? And then they were just, we got to work to eat kind of thing. And I'm like, wow, I'm over here asking these kids why they're not in school. I don't even go to school back home. And I got a free Metro card to get on the bus. I got meals, lunch, breakfast at school. You need a notebook, the school has it, and there's after school programs to tutor you. And I was just like, I have everything I need to be successful back home. And that's the epiphany that I had. I was like, okay, that's the purpose of this entire trip. That's why my mom sent me here. I came back, I got enrolled in high school. I graduated, I started getting involved in school in terms of leadership, and getting involved in the community, going to local gardens, or at least getting involved in volunteering. And from there, I got a scholarship to go to community college. It was like to help me get a laptop and some of the resources needed for college. So I went to community college. I was student body president there, so I got really involved with the leadership on campus. And also in a group called United Men of Color. Where it's like a mentorship program for young men of color at the college, and it's called Stella and Charles Government Community College here in New York City. I got a Kaplan scholarship, so it's a Kaplan leadership program, and the Kaplan leadership program is for high achieving underserved students or underrepresented in New York City to go away to a private 4-year college, essentially. So from
Wow.
there, I graduated. I spoke at the graduation, which was really nice. You know, I got to like say something to my mom from the stage where everybody was looking at. You know what I mean? And that was something for me where it was like, wow, like, you know, you sacrificed so much, and here I am saying thank you to you for the work and the effort you put in. So it was really a moment for me. You know what I mean? Because
That's
it's
awesome.
interesting when you come from a certain community and then you gotta make something of yourself. You know, so for me to be on stage was like, you know, like you immigrated here, you came here for this exact moment, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so from there I went to University of Rochester. And on my first winter break, I was actually in this very office, interning. This very office.
Wow. Full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Every morning I would drink coffee at the station. And I asked somebody, hey, listen, can I buy some of this coffee, you know? Hey, nah, that's the person I asked. Can I buy some of this coffee for home? Mind you, this is almost 2 years ago. So I asked him, I was like, listen, can I buy some of this coffee for home? This is really good. You make it at the office every day. And he mentioned that he doesn't sell it anymore, but he used to. Then I asked him why. He said the company hadn't gone anywhere. So he asked me to make a marketing plan and a business plan for him. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was studying. So I'm an undergrad business student at the time. I'm studying business marketing. And I was telling him, like, maybe your company failed because you didn't have a marketing plan, a business plan that had this details in it, you know, stuff like that. So then he told me to make one. I made it, and it's the company you see now. So he didn't really like it. He didn't really like the proposal that I had. But I was so curious because I had learned so much about the coffee industry that I went back to University of Rochester and kind of kept on researching it more and understanding it. And I kind of loved that it was something where I would get myself back into like the agriculture industry. And I get to travel. I love to travel. I love being an entrepreneur, so I get to really manage myself and my own schedule and stuff like that. So it became a class project at the University of Rochester. And then at the ending of the term, you know, it was the best project out of the entire class after we presented it. And people really enjoyed the coffee. We actually served coffee at the presentation. People really enjoyed it. And then based off people's reactions at that moment, I was like, you know, like I think this I think this has a lot of potential, you know. I went to my dorm. I reserved the company in New York State, Don Carvajal Café LLC, and then started selling coffee on Instagram. So I started selling coffee on Instagram. From there, slowly started increasing. Then I got on the website, and then really started going heavily on social media marketing. You know, I didn't have a coffee shop. I didn't have a roasting room. I didn't have any capital investment from my uncles or moms or aunts. You know what I mean? So
I know. I was gonna ask that, like, about how'd you get the capital and all that, but that's
so I literally started with $500. I took one of my credit cards, Capital One. So I did. I call it my three investors. It was my three cards, that's how I started the company, and then just kept on growing from there. So the money that came in, I would just throw it right back in. So I call it the laundromat, like dirty laundry, throw it into the thing. It was like a circle for me. Like money will come in, it will go back out. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. So we had 100 pounds of coffee. We would sell it. We would buy 120, 140, 100. You know, and just keep it circulating. And that's something that I think entrepreneurs tend to misunderstand. Where like when you're starting something out, you can't begin to pull out. You know what I mean? You gotta just keep on investing and play the long game. Because if you're taking out the resources out of the company, then it's not gonna be left with anything. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Your story is just inspirational on so many levels. Like, first of all, shout out moms.
Yeah.
She was like, nah, you're gonna go. You're gonna go to the DR. Get it together a little bit. That's what moms are. That's the thing. Like, and so you're first generation, right? Here. So you feel like she was definitely sending you there to instill something in you. Like, she didn't say that, but she's like, I know once he goes and sees this,
to
figure it out.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like more like she wanted me to kind of have an awakening or realization, you know. So for me, like honestly, like it's that experience alone to kind of change my life and my trajectory. So my my goal is to actually write a book about, I call it the Onion Story. So it's about the experience that really changed my life, you know. So yeah, that's what I would say.
You're gonna be a New York Times bestseller. I'm here for it.
That's the goal.
It's already in my Amazon shopping cart. It's fine. And then something else you said stood out to me, that the person you did the business plan for, so did they pass on your idea?
Yeah.
And then so that it just became your business venture.
Yeah. So it was something like, I proposed it. I was like, listen, you have a business, you have the product, you have the capital. I'm just a kid. Like I'm just a 22-year-old kid who has ideas, and I'm giving something based off my school. Like, listen, I'm not a genius, but this is what I go to school for. You know what I mean? Like the best I can do is implement what I'm learning right now. So I came up with the strategy. Listen, this is the business name, this is the business plan, this is the marketing strategy, this is the product. You know, it's going to be organic, it's going to be child labor free, it's going to be ethically sourced, you know, and I'm saying all this, and he's like, well, how do we make sure that it's really ethical? And I'm like, well, we fly to the farm. He's like, oh no, that's too much, I don't got time for that. How do we make sure that the supply chain is cleared? I'm like, well, you get USDA organic certified. He's like, oh no, it's too much. So I'm like, all of the big pivotal things, the person is just like, oh,
they're like, nah,
for me. And I'm just like, no, but like based on like what I see in terms of the research, the opportunity, this is it right here. This is it. And I just knew it. You know, I just kind of like felt like it was a really good idea, and I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Coffee is a very big people's industry. Like it's like, you know, like without people, you can't have coffee. You know, you can't automate a farmer. You know what I mean? So it's the farm, it's their family, it's the community. And then here it's like a big community as well in terms of baristas, you know, the coffee scene, the coffee shops, everything is very community like, and it's very people's like. So, you know, from the farms to the coffee shops to the supermarkets that I sell to, it's all like a very big family, I would say. Like it's a lot of, you know, so I really enjoy that aspect of exploring new cultures and meeting new people all the time.
Yeah, and I love that. It's like, because I mean, even here in America, that's really what makes us who we are, is like embracing different cultures, and also people in different countries, like sharing in the economic opportunities. That's one thing that stands out about your company. Not only just the high quality coffee, but you're sharing in opportunities. So you're trying to, you know, find a way to not just yourself be successful, but like help other people be successful. And then I know you get this question a lot, you know, talking to entrepreneurs. And it just stood out to me to like start with what you have, that mentality. And even when people, maybe someone out there has an idea and it's kind of getting shot down, kind of like you talked about, like they have an idea, they don't quite know how to navigate it, and people are just like, nah, that's not going to work. Like what, you know, this is probably a common question, but what do you say to the person who's maybe they're in a 9-to-5 now, they have a really good idea for a product or a business venture, and they're just like, I don't know where to start, I don't have the money, it's COVID, like I have to support my family, but I really want to go after my passion. What do you say to them?
I would say it's like any wise investor, you know what I mean? Like I'm not a wise investor, maybe now, I don't really know, but I would say what made me really confident in the idea and the company was the research that I did. Like me understanding the industry, like, okay, how much does coffee produce? Okay, coffee produced last year $100 billion in sales last year. Okay, okay, cool. So there's a lot of money. Okay, so you know, I typically sit here and I do my math. Okay, I'm like, okay, let's say, let's see 100 billion. Okay, cool. You know, what's 1% of that? Maybe I can just get 1%. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. So it's one of those things where, okay, if it's 100 billion, if I just get 1%, we're selling $1 billion a year. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem so impossible when you break it down. You know what I mean? Or percent of that percent. But I would say the research. Like for me, what made me really confident in my idea was the research. Like I really understood the industry, or at least to the best of my knowledge, or at least to the best of my research. Like I knew, you know, what most people bought. You know, I had some research. What kind of coffee do people buy? what country do they like the most? Where do most people buy their coffee? Is it at a coffee shop? Is it online on Amazon? Is it, how do people brew it? Is it Keurig? Is it a mocha pot at home? So it was really understanding the industry. Okay, who are the key players? Who are the key players? What are the operations for coffee? Okay, there's a farm. Okay, it has to be imported. It has to be roasted. It has to be packaged. It has to be distributed. Okay, how does that work? Like, what's the game? What's the flow? Where do I fit in? And it was really understanding the industry, understanding the product, understanding the people, understanding the prices of things, comparing it. Like, what would my product be next to this product? And if somebody's comparing my price to their price, what makes our product stand out at the same price point? So all of these little things made me really confident in the idea because I felt like I really understood. It's like a lawyer. Like, your lawyer needs to know a lot about you in order to defend you. So that's the same thing for anybody trying to get into the industry. You know what I mean? Like, whatever industry you're in, you want to make sure you know enough to defend your idea and the product, just like a lawyer would at a court. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That was good. Because I think
the first time
go ahead. What'd you say?
That's the first time I've made the lawyer comparison. It's a really good one. Yeah.
That was good one. That was good one. Keep that in there with next time you get asked that question, because you're going to do so many more interviews and stuff, and they're going to ask that because what you said about research, I find that like that's one thing people tend to not want to do. It's going to be what sets you apart. That's really what it sounds like you're saying. Like, everyone has a good idea, but a lot of people aren't willing to research it and like invest in themselves. Like, you didn't have any investors, I'm sure people are wanting to invest now, obviously, but you said you started on your own. So that's impressive. That's impressive.
It's one of those things where, if you say something and you don't have nothing to back it up, and anybody says anything, you got to just stay with what they said. Well, how about if it doesn't work out because of this, and that? Well, I did my research, and based on my research, that wouldn't happen because X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's really coming from an informed standpoint,
Yeah. Yeah, because people will always try to shoot down an idea just because it's something they didn't think of, probably. So I know I kind of read a little bit that your late grandfather was a farmer in the DR. And I'm assuming there's some inspiration there for kind of your work ethic and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about like the legacy or anything that you learned from your grandfather that he instilled in you in order to like have your business?
I would say my mom always says stories about him. I don't remember him myself. I was pretty young when he passed. But I always remember, what the stories my mom gives me, the hardworking. This phone calls. So I would say the stories of the hard work, the innovation, and just the hunger for success. Those things were like being a first generation Afro-Latino Dominican in New York City. I think about my grandfather and my mom and my ancestors. Like, I was on a panel earlier for Hispanic Heritage Month, and some student asked me, "What do you think you owe your success to?" And I was like, "Number one, I'm successful, but I have so much more to go. Like, I'm just getting started." You know what I mean? I feel like if I had any form of success, even to the one I have now, because I've gotten somewhere. I'm somewhere where I wasn't before, so I guess I am successful to a certain extent. But I would say I owe it to my ancestors, my grandfather, my mother, and the people that came before me. Whether it's my family or just people from my background. I think those are the people who I owe it to, and those are the people that propel me forward to be successful. To carry out the name, to kind of represent the family history. Like my mom. For her to walk into a store and like see her dad on the shelf is like, whoa. Or like my aunt one time, she calls me like, "So you sell the coffee at my local pharmacy?" Because I'm looking at my father right now. You know what I mean?
I was gonna ask if that was him on the logo.
Yeah, so that's my grandfather. So my grandfather logo, and my aunt actually had a moment one time where she walked into a pharmacy She's like, oh my God, like I thought I was going crazy, but I saw my father on the shelf, you know, so that was pretty fun. It's all about carrying it forward and representing the family.
I love that. I love that. Like that it's kind of, you're obviously wanting to be successful and even building more in the future, but it's not just about you. Like it's about, like you said, your legacy, like your family, and everything they've kind of built you up. Like all of our ancestors have kind of put us on the platform we're on now in a way. And speaking of like seeing your coffee in the stores, how many stores are you
in? Right now we're in 50 stores. So 50 supermarkets in the New York City area. Also sell to a few cafes. No restaurants right now because of COVID, but cafes and supermarkets. We also ship to nationwide, all over the United States. Gotta check how many states it was, but I think we're peaking, like we shipped like 40 different states.
Man, I hope you ship to Tennessee because I'm planning on purchasing some.
To all the 50 states. So.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I was reading some articles and y'all are just blowing up because the article I read said 40. And I'm like, okay, we've added 10 more on in a few months. Okay. That's awesome though. And you know, kind of wrapping up a little bit because I know you're a busy man. You have things to do. This is your Monday, but you know, you're 24 now, right? Just turned 24.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy late birthday. But do you feel young? Like you are extremely young to be in the space that you're in, kind of like owning a business. And
yeah, I get that question all the time. I feel like I'm a very old soul. I feel like very old soul. You know, I was telling the kids earlier on this panel. They said, you know, what was one of the things you had to let go of for your business? And I was like, listen, I had to let go of certain relationships, certain friendships, certain family members, because sometimes you got to sacrifice a lot. And me being 23, 24, 25, people my age, typically, you know, want to party, want to go hang out. You know, they work Monday to Friday, Saturday, they want to go spend some of that money. I don't have that luxury. You know, I can't party every day. I can't party on Fridays. Why? Because I got to wake up at 5 a.m. the next day. And I got 4 people showing up to work, and I'm responsible for all 4 of them. And then I have 4 different farmers markets they all got to show up to, and I got to make sure they're all prepared. So it's one of those things where I'm not a typical 24-year-old.
No.
And I honestly don't feel 24. I feel like I'm in my 30s. I feel like growing. My mom had me when she was 39, 40. My mom had me when she was 40, so I grew up with a very grown mother. I think her experiences and livelihood, I think, kind of got instilled in me, and I always, you know, I'm always very responsible. I always think about the repercussions of things, and I just you know, move adequately. I think, you know, I'm young. I want to be successful. You know, I think, you know, where you're born doesn't define where you're gonna end up. So I work very hard.
Yeah.
And I just want to show other people who are around my age, or the people who come before me and after me, that, you know, if I did it, they could do it too. It's not an easy road. You know, I'm still struggling. I'm still working hard.
Yeah.
But it's all about looking at the bigger picture, you know? So I would say I'm young, but I don't feel young. I feel like a very old soul. I'd say I'm very mature in the way that I move and that I act and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that, you know, because I'm a therapist and I kind of started a little, you know, maybe early 20s, and age definitely doesn't dictate like how successful or how wise you might be. Like, so I think it's great that you talked about sacrificing. I think that's another thing with starting a business and maintaining a business that people, it's like, it's not appealing to people to sacrifice relationships, to sacrifice their free time on the weekends. But that, I mean, that's a key right there, because you're now very successful. And I mean, like you said, you're still building, but you're successful right now too. Like in this moment, you're doing such a good job. And that was, you touched on a question I was going to ask, that do you have employees now?
Yeah, there's 4 of us. Well, 5 with me, but there's four people.
Okay. That's awesome. So, do they travel with you? Are they just like part of the team? Are they like the salespeople? Like, or what's the setup of the
combination? So they're like, brand cafe ambassadors,
mm-hmm.
roasting assistant. So I roast all the coffee myself. I'm the master roaster, and then I get assistants, in terms of packing coffee,
Mm-hmm.
Boxing it, shipping it, and stuff like that. Brewing coffee, we do cold brew, so we bottle it. If it's office help, stuff like that. So pretty much it's like a gumbo. We do a lot of everything. I tell my team we're a startup, so you got to be willing to take it down and dirty. Like your job description is not going to be to detail, and there's going to be things that come up. So we're a small team, but to think that I did this by myself a year ago, and now there's 4 people who help, it's kind of crazy.
That's wild. Yeah. Are you taking interns? Just a random question, like people in the New York area, like people that are willing to just pitch in for free or.
Yeah. I always love giving people the opportunity because I would say for me, what allowed me to understand what kind of person I am in terms of a professional environment was internships. So me sitting at an office 9 to 5, I realized I'm not much of a desk person. You know what I mean? So I like being out there. I like being in the mix. I like working, but I also like being in the office. But I don't like 9 to 5 sitting here all day. Something calls. I like being in the field. I like connecting with people. I'm very much so a people's person. So I love going out and doing sales. And then, after I'm done, then I come to the office. I really, I type up everything, I organize myself, but I like having a balance. So I think internships helped me find what I like, what I dislike, and it helped me formulate something for myself that worked for me as an entrepreneur.
Okay, for sure. So when people watch this, I'm just going to tell them, go to his Instagram, maybe message him if you're interested in an internship. So I think the last question I have, just to kind of wrap it up, outside of your business, so you've had success, you're building success, you're kind of global, you're ethically sourced, you're giving back to the community and all those things. But what do you see like for yourself in the future? Like what's next for you outside of your business? What do you hope to accomplish maybe in the community wise or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say for me it's really like finding myself and like really enriching myself, not in terms of money, but in terms of, I think, wealth, like like a healthy, health is wealth, knowledge, expanding my knowledge and understanding, exploring other cultures. I'm really big on community. So how can I contribute and make an impact in the community that I'm from and in the communities that I buy coffee from? How can I really make my time on this earth count? That's really my personal note. How can I make my time on this earth count? And how can I leave a legacy as a person, as Hector, for others to follow, when my time is up. So that's really for me. You know what I mean? In 5-10 years, I want to just, become more financially free and really have time to really explore myself. I think a lot of people work very hard, but then they forget to live in the moment. So that's
yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your schedule and talking to me. People can find your coffee on Don Carvajal Café on Instagram and the website. And I was on the website and I'm adding things to my cart. And that burlap purse, the kind of the bag. I want that. Yeah.
But, yeah, it's pretty nice. People.
Oh, you have one?
For a lot of things. So
I love that. And that's from a real
coffee sack. So we receive coffee in sacks. I'll show you one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is like what a coffee sack looks like. This is what the coffee comes in. This is the first coffee sack I ever bought, actually.
Wow.
So it comes like this. And then a lot of companies, throw this into the trash. But my mentality was like, how can we be more eco and repurpose these? You know, so I came up with an idea, and it was like, let's turn these into pillows. And then a friend of mine was like, you ever thought about turn them into tote bags? And I was like, no, but let's try it. And then a local seamstress made this beautiful tote bag. I started doing it, you know, and it made me feel really good because I'm creating less trash and repurposing this, you know, make something useful, you know. And we also donate these to gardens, so they decompose, bed for the plants, or they use it as like a pot for sweet potatoes and stuff. So it's all about being eco-friendly, and the tote bags are like the best thing that I could have ever came up with.
No, that's it's just innovative. Your whole business model, I love it. But well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for talking to me. Take care. I'm sure I'll be following your journey and all that. So I know it won't be the last I hear from you, but I really appreciate meeting you, and I wish you a happy Monday, even though it's Friday, but yeah. Okay. Thanks, Hector.
Yeah, have a good one.
Okay, bye.